This year, the DJI Mavic 4 Pro has followed me through volcanic beaches in El Salvador, humid jungles in Costa Rica, the rugged mountains of Pakistan, and the surreal blue waters of Socotra. And after all these flights, all these moments, one question kept coming back to me. Is the Mavic 4 Pro still the drone that I trust the most? Because here's the thing, when you travel this much with a drone, you stop caring about the numbers on a spec sheet. You care about the moments you would have missed without it. You care about the shots that only happen once and that you just want to capture, and that they look good. And this drone, well, it surprised me in many ways I didn't expect. But it also frustrated me in one point. And I keep running into it again and again. And it might be the reason some of you might enjoy other DJI drones. So this is my real long-term review. I want to show you my failures, my lessons, and some of the best aerial footage I've ever captured. Let's see whether the Mavic 4 Pro is still worth carrying around the world. When I got the Mavic 4 Pro, I didn't plan for it to become my main travel drone. I imagined it would be the big one I only used for special shoots, while the smaller drones handled the rest. But that idea completely collapsed the moment I took it on my first real trip, because suddenly I wasn't thinking about size, I was thinking about confidence. And even just lately, El Salvador was the place where I manifested this shift. Flying on those rocky beaches with strong winds rolling in from the Pacific, also on the volcanic landscapes, the winds were insane, with speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour. And that's where I realized I needed a drone that wouldn't hesitate when I pressed takeoff. The Mavic 4 Pro did exactly that. And that reliability carried over to Costa Rica's humidity, and it also was the same in Pakistan, thin mountain air and the insanely bright reflective landscapes of Socotra. Every place challenged it differently, and somehow it kept up. But switching to this drone wasn't about just performance and quality, it was about the workflow. I wanted a drone that I could fly fast, trust instantly, and color grade consistently across all my travel projects. And the Mavic 4 Pro gave me that. It simplified my shooting decisions in a way I didn't expect. Fewer second guesses, fewer backup plans, fewer moments where I had to choose between safe and cinematic. I just started this drone and I knew I could do some shots with a wide angle lens, some shots with a 2.5x zoom, and maybe even with a 6x zoom. And having all these possibilities allowed me to just really start the drone and find the best perspectives for each landscape that I decided to fly my drone. And the obstacle sensing works insanely good, so I didn't have to choose between safe or cinematic, I had it both. And the funny thing is, I didn't realize how important that was until editing more and more footage. Shot after shot, I had the same clean structure, the same dynamic flexibility, the same reliability that made color grading feel smooth instead of chaotic. But there's still one specific spec that changed everything. So even though this drone is way heavier, it's worth it. Just on hikes that take more than like 4 or 5 hours and are rated difficult or moderate to difficult, I prefer the Mini 5 Pro. Camera quality is one of those things you only truly understand after months of real travel, not after a weekend on test flights. And for me, the Mavic 4 Pro revealed strengths in the most unexpected places. In Costa Rica, the way it handled deep greens under shifting rainforest lights felt almost too good for a drone this size. Socotra pushed it in the opposite direction. Harsh sunlight, sharp cliffs, dramatic shadows. The dynamic range held up shockingly well, and in Pakistan mountains, where thin, high-altitude air creates extremely crisp but unforgiving light, the camera still produced footage that felt cinematic instead of harsh or just too digital. Of course, no drone camera is perfect. There were moments in El Salvador, especially shooting against the sun, where the highlights clipped faster. And in some extreme midday conditions, it struggled to hold the details in both the sky and the subject. But these were deal breakers, and this drone still makes the best job out of all drones of DJI that you can get. For me, the problem is just that you know the big full frame sensors compared to those CMOS sensors on drones. There is just a difference, it is. But do I need even better quality on a drone camera? I don't think so. What surprised me the most, though, was how consistently the footage matched across all these locations. The color science felt predictable, which made grading really easy. I really got an eye for if it's worth launching the drone instead of just standing and looking around and guessing. You really felt like, okay, I know this landscape, it's currently dark, it's cloudy, but in the color grading process, you can make it look really a bit more bright and the colors will just pop. There's something I've been using lately that actually helped me to plan and elevate a lot of my visuals in my recent projects. If you follow my channel, you know I'm always searching for tools that make video editing smoother, and Atlas just released something that fits perfectly into that idea. It's called Seedream 4.5, and honestly, it's the first AI image generator I've tried that feels cinematic instead of artificial. The lighting looks real, the rendering looks intentional, and the results stay consistent across multiple generations. For me, that means I can quickly generate visual references, plan color styles, or create more ideas before flying in a new location. It understands complex prompts and lets me dial in exactly the vibe I want, whether that's dramatic cliffs, harsh sunlight, or soft coastal tones. And when you're preparing shots in places like Socotra or Pakistan, having a visual reference that actually makes sense is incredibly helpful. Artlist also added something I think travel filmmakers will love: start to end frame. It lets you define the opening and closing moments of a clip, so the motion transitions and visual flow feel like a professional directed sequence. And using this with your drone footage or drone photos is beautiful. Because if you ever tried chaining multiple drone clips into one smooth transition, you know how challenging that can be in After Effects. With start end frame, I can plan those movements way more intentionally and get cleaner results without spending hours to tweak keyframes. And if you want to explore these tools yourself, you'll find them on Artlist. And honestly, if you enjoy adding a bit more creativity and direction to your videos, these new features are worth checking out. I'll link it down below. Traveling with a drone for 10 months straight teaches you a lot about what really matters, and reliability is on top of my list. The DJI Mavic Pro has been thrown just into every environment I've stopped into. Dusty roads in Pakistan, humid jungles, volcanic ash, ocean winds, and the dry alien-like terrain of Socotra. And in many rainy and super humid conditions as well. If you made it this far, already write a comment what currently is your favorite drone and why. And leave a like and follow if you want to see more like this. What surprised me most is how little it complained. No weird warnings, no moments where it felt like the drone was fighting the surrounding instead of adapting to them. And of course, crashes happen, especially when you fly like I do, and with the Mavic 4 Pro, when you're shooting in vertical mode, you also have to brake much earlier than you think, and this is the one point you have to keep in mind. On my very first flight in that mode, I misjudged the braking distance while flying backwards and clipped a tree. I expected the worst, but nothing broke. Not the arms, not the gimbal, not even the props. I took off immediately and finished the shoot. That moment alone taught me more about the build quality than any spec sheet ever could. Another moment that really defined my trust in this drone happened in El Salvador. I was flying on top of a volcano. It was 70 km/h wind speed, and any smaller drone would have immediately started wobbling or auto braking or getting pushed away. The Mavic 4 Pro continued to fly against the wind with 14 km/h. It held its line, held its altitude, and allowed me to finish the shot exactly the way I imagined it. That's the type of stability that only shows itself after dozens of real flights and not in a controlled test. The only thing you have to keep in mind in these extreme wind conditions is that return to home feature will be disabled if there's too much wind. So I was like 3 kilometers away already from the hotel I flew to the volcano, and I was up like, I was high, and I really had to choose a good point where I could stand, so I had visual line of sight. So every time you fly in strong wind conditions, make sure that you always have that perfect visual line of sight. Again, keep in mind, transport-wise, it's obviously bigger than a mini drone, but it never felt like a burden. I carried it through airports, packed it into rental cars, strapped it onto hiking bags, and threw it into day packs more times than I can count. The arms never loosened, the gimbal only needed recalibration once, and even after all this travel, the drone still feels tight and solid, even after a few crashes. Battery life is one of those things you only start to appreciate after a few weeks of shooting in places where charging isn't guaranteed, especially Socotra. The only place where we were able to charge the drone for 5 days straight was in a car. What really helped during this was how easy it was to charge it with USB-C power delivery. On most flights I get around 35 to 40 minutes of usable time, sometimes closer to 45 if the wind is calm and I'm not pushing the drone too hard. When it's not windy and you don't fly big distances, this is and even feels long. So I've charged batteries in rental cars, in tiny guest houses during airport layovers, and even from power banks while hiking. As long as I carried a USB-C cable, I never felt stuck. So still the Fly More combo with 3 batteries is a must, but the most interesting travel for the batteries will be Lapland next week with temperatures around up to minus 20 degrees Celsius. Let's see how the batteries will keep up there. So make sure to follow if you don't want to miss out on that. When you fly as much as I do, patterns start to appear. You learn exactly where each drone fits into your workflow, and with the Mavic 4 Pro, the biggest shift came from its triple camera lens. Having a 24mm wide, a 70mm medium tele and a 168mm super tele on one drone completely changed how I composed my shots on the road. It gave me options the Mini 4 Pro, for example, simply can't offer. The Mini is still an incredible drone, small, reliable, easy to fly, but its single lens setup makes it harder to build variety into its sequence. With the Mavic 4 Pro, I could capture a wide establishing shot, then jump straight into a tight telephoto detail without swapping drones or changing locations. And that flexibility matters a lot more than you think when traveling. Then there's the R3S, and honestly, the R3S gets closer than people expect. It's smaller, easier to pack, and the 2-camera system is really useful. The medium tele lens on the R3S is great, especially for landscapes where getting closer isn't possible. But once you've flown the Mavic 4 Pro, it's hard to go back. While you get a more digital look on the R3S, the Mavic 4 Pro looks more scenic. After months of switching between all these 3 drones, the Mavic 4 Pro consistently gave me the footage I trusted the most. The color consistency across all 3 lenses, the stability in tough conditions, and the way it handled extreme light made it my default choice. Whether I was filming in Pakistan mountains or Socotra's coastline, I never questioned if the shot would hold up in the edit. For creators who want the most cinematic versatility, the Mavic 4 Pro still stands in its own league. The price of the Mavic 4 Pro might make you hesitate at first. It's a serious investment, especially when you compare it to the Mini 4 or 5 Pro or the R3S. But after 10 months of non-stop traveling, I realized something important. This drone isn't priced for what it is, it's priced for what it enables. The triple lens allows you to give you more creative flexibility that usually requires multiple drones or multiple lenses on a main camera. And yeah, if you're a beginner, the Mini 5 Pro still is the best value. It's cheaper and their footage still looks great for YouTube, Instagram. Especially on Instagram, sometimes you can't tell the difference until you really get like a sunset or you see an overexposed sky. Then that's probably a mini drone, because you have a way better dynamic range on the Mavic 4 Pro. So the Mavic 4 Pro is built for a different type of filmmaker. It's for people who travel often, shoot in unpredictable environments, and want their drone footage to match the quality of the camera system. If you rely on consistency, dynamic range, and lens variety, the price starts feeling a lot more reasonable. For me, it paid for itself through reliability alone. On Create Beyond, I also show you how I make money with my drone content, so make sure to check out the link down below. After flying the Mavic 4 Pro across some of the most beautiful and unpredictable places I've ever seen, one thing became very clear. The trust that I have in this drone isn't something I got from specs. It wasn't just the image quality or the triple lens system or even the stability in tough conditions. It was the consistency. The feeling that when a moment appeared, a wave, a shadow, a burst of light, the drone would respond exactly how I needed it to. And that predictability changed the way I filmed and honestly made traveling with a drone so much more enjoyable than ever. So is the Mavic 4 Pro worth it after 10 months? For me, absolutely. If you're someone who values reliability, cinematic flexibility, and a drone that grows with you, this one deserves a spot in your bag. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure to follow and leave a like. I'm happy to hear in the comments what's your favorite drone and why.